News. The Americas. U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran over the weekend, killing Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, have ignited Middle East tensions, spiking oil prices and driving investors to safe havens as markets brace for supply disruptions through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump's vow to impose new tariffs despite a Supreme Court rebuke adds to the trade jitters shaking global commerce. U.S. futures point lower, with S&P 500 contracts down 1%, Nasdaq and Dow under pressure from surging crude, while Brent crude jumps 8.5% to $79.05 a barrel, the key driver amid fears of prolonged oil shocks. ExxonMobil reports record quarterly earnings of $12 billion, fueled by higher energy prices, boosting its shares 5% pre-market. Bitcoin plunged 3% to $62,000 on Saturday after the strikes, but clawed back to $68,000 by Sunday, as traders shun risk assets. Brazil's Petrobras inks a $20 billion M&A deal to acquire Guyana offshore assets, eyeing expanded Latin American production amid the turmoil. Europe. Escalating tensions in the Middle East are rattling European markets, with oil prices spiking over fears of supply disruptions driving investor caution. Traders are dumping risk assets amid renewed U.S. trade policy threats. The Euro Stoxx 50 tumbled 1.18% to 666 points in early Monday trading, after closing at 6130 on Friday, down 0.43%. FTSE 100 held steady around 10,847 from Friday, while DAX sat at 25,289, pressured by inflation data clouding ECB rate cut hopes. German chip giant ASML reported Q4 earnings beating estimates at €2.1 billion profit, but shares dipped on cautious 2026 guidance. Santander announced a €5.2 billion buyback after strong annual results, boosting its stock 2%. Total Energies sealed a $1.2 billion acquisition of UK North Sea assets, eyeing energy security. The Middle East. Tensions escalate as U.S. and Israeli strikes hit Iran, prompting swift retaliatory attacks on Israel and U.S. bases across the Middle East, rattling global nerves. Markets plunge with Brent crude spiking over 8% to $92 a barrel amid fears of supply disruptions. Oil surges on the chaos while regional indices wobble. Tata Wool dips 2.4%, ADX falls 1.8%, and DFM sheds 3.1%. Saudi Arabia's PIF snaps up a $5 billion stake in UAE renewable giant Masdar for green hydrogen projects. Egypt's sovereign fund inks $2.7 billion M&A deal with Qatar for Suez Canal logistics expansion. ADNOC launches $1.2 billion IPO for its gas unit, drawing strong regional bids. Asia Pacific. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi announced a sweeping security overhaul on February 20th, warning of Chinese coercion around the Senkaku Islands and vowing robust countermeasures, a move rattling markets amid fears of escalated regional tensions. Brent crude surged 7% to $82.37 a barrel as Iran-Israel clashes disrupted Strait of Hormuz shipping, hammering Asian energy importers and stoking inflation worries. Asia-Pacific markets opened mixed, Nikkei down 1.2%, Hang Seng off 0.8%, ASX 200 flat, and Sensex dipping 0.5%, all pressured by soaring oil prices curbing growth outlooks. China's crude imports hit a record 13.42 million barrels per day in February, but refiners now brace for cuts of up to 2 million BPD as Hormuz risks mount. Japan's BOJ slowed rate hikes amid the Middle East turmoil, exposing the economy to stagnant growth and persistent inflation. ANZ analysts warn prolonged conflict could slash regional oil supplies, forcing strategic reserve releases across Asia.